area have fluctuated up and down. Excuse me. Just earlier this week, we saw freezing temperatures. In tonight's edition of Weatherwise, Jackson, this is just funny to me, but Jackson talks about freezing pipes in your home. Here's Weatherwise.
Meteorologist Jackson Chastain here with the latest edition of Weatherwise. Today we're going to talk about something that is actually very relevant to what we're dealing with right now. Freezing temperatures this past week. It's really just been quite cold outside, and that just doesn't affect us. It affects our plants, but more importantly, in this edition, it affects your pipes. And when you get temperatures, especially closer or below 20 degrees, what happens is that your pipes become very, very vulnerable. In fact, mostly pipes to the exterior of your house, but it could be the interior too. What happens is that as those pipes get cold, they start cooling the water contained within it, and as it does so, eventually that water will start to freeze. Now, the freezing is the problem here, because as it does, the ice tends to expand as it freezes. So what it's doing is it's putting stress on that pipe, and eventually that pipe can break. And if you have broken pipes, there isn't any way you're going to get any water out of those pipes. So it's a very serious concern, especially in the winter when, you need running water, just to drink, just to shower with, just to use the restroom. So very serious concern here, and a lot of things that can play into this. Really, outdoor exposure to the temperature, direct exposure to the cold. If you have bad insulation, that can really affect your pipes as well if it's not really retaining heat very well. But there's plenty of things you can do. Number one, you could put a sleeve on it now, and that's a pretty simple method right there. Just put an insulating material around that pipe, keeps it warm, prevents that water from freezing. Another thing you can do here is just make sure you got your heat running at all times during periods of cold weather. Just keep your cabinets open too. That allows that warm air to circulate in and keep those pipes warm. But if you're keeping that heat on, keeping the house at a minimum of 55 degrees when you're not at home, what you're doing is you're just keeping yourself safe, you're keeping your pipes safe, and you're preventing anything from going bad or going awry. So good stuff there. Another thing you can do is just make sure that you have your faucet dripping. It just takes one faucet, guys. You can leave it dripping when you leave the house, and what that does is it just keeps the water flowing. So as you keep the water flowing, just makes it harder for it to freeze. Just another mechanism for defense against frozen pipes. And the last thing here, which is actually very, very effective, is just putting on some kind of spigot covering, foam insulation, some kind of insulator over your pipes. If you don't even have a spigot covering, you could just wrap it in a towel, and you can get the coverings at Home Depot, at your local department store, but it just keeps that faucet from freezing, and it keeps it warm as well. But that's all I have for the latest edition of Weatherwise. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to post those to our Facebook, to our Twitter. You can send me an email, but otherwise, you guys have a great one.
Weatherwise is brought to you by Fort County Electric Power Association.